For the record, I'm a female. I'm turning 19 this year, and the story happened when I was 15. And also, I'm from France, which could explain my English mistakes if there are any. When I was 15 years old and just gone to junior year, I created my first Twitter account that I deleted because of this story. Some information. I didn't tell anyone my username, neither my family nor my friends, because I didn't have any. My profile picture was an avatar, so no pictures of me on the account. And for a location, I said Paris because I lived in the suburbs. I didn't have many followers, 20 or maybe 30, and I didn't follow that many people. So my timeline was not really interesting. One evening in October, someone sent me a quite strange direct message. It was an account with 200 followers, and the message was, "Hi, my name is Rob. I just turned 17 and wanted to know if you lived in blank, because I'll soon be moving in there, and I'll be going to the high school, and I'm looking for new friends." The town he mentioned was obviously where I lived. I immediately thought something was wrong because there was nowhere on my profile that said where I actually lived. And after some time thinking, I remembered a tweet I made weeks before about buses, and I mentioned the city, so I just told myself he looks down my Twitter and found the tweet. His age wasn't shocking because I'm 2 years ahead of my classmates. I was bored and he was polite. I answered him, and I told him that's where I lived, and that I go to high school there. The discussion was natural, and we talked a lot that night, mainly about high school and the food at the cafeteria, about the teachers, that kind of thing. But as it was getting very late, he tried to interpose some personal questions, like, do you live far away from the school? In a house or an apartment? Do you live with both of your parents? How many of you live there? You're not often home alone, right? I never answered these because it was way too shady for me. And fortunately, he didn't insist, because if he did, I probably would have blocked him. The next day, the same thing. We talked a lot, and he was still asking personal questions. He said he wanted to get to know me better, so I asked him to, and he always answered with what seemed like honesty. I still didn't want to answer the questions about my house though, because he didn't need to know anything about it. It lasted 2 or 3 weeks, but it was enough for me to develop feelings for him. He was handsome, super kind, and it was everything I needed, because I was bullied for years, and even today, I still develop strong feelings, but most importantly, blind trust in people who are friendly to me. In France in October, we have a 2-week-long vacation, and the day before back to school, he finally told me he was coming to my high school, because he finally moved in with his mom, and he asked me a place to meet during the morning break. I was so happy and relieved to be able to meet with him, and I told him to join me in the hall. But when he understood that there would be people around, he said he would prefer an isolated place because he was afraid he wouldn't recognize me and didn't want to spend the break looking for me. It was a good excuse for me, so I told him to meet me in the 3rd floor bathroom, because we weren't allowed to stay there during the breaks, and no one would disturb us. In my head, even though it was a little bit creepy, I was still in the school, so nothing could happen. The next day, back to school day, I made myself pretty, wore my best clothes, and counted down the minutes. And finally, when break time arrived, I ran to the bathroom and waited. And when he arrived, it was him. He wasn't a catfish. He looked quite like his profile picture, but I still noticed that he seemed a little bit older than me. I thought maybe 20 years old instead of 17. We talked a lot, we got along well, and I was pleased. At the end of the break, he asked me to get fast food with him for lunch. I said no because I didn't have money, and I always refuse for people to pay for me. It's just a principle. He seemed disappointed, but offered to walk me home after classes. I explained I had to take the bus, but that he could walk me to the bus stop. He looked disappointed again, but accepted. And that's exactly what happened, and it was so great that it quickly became some kind of routine. We met in the 3rd floor bathroom during the morning break, and he walked me to the bus stop after classes. Surprising fact, I never saw him in the hallways nor at the cafeteria, but I thought at the time that the building was huge, and there was at least over 1,500 students there. So if our schedules didn't coincide, there was no way we could meet each other. This little game lasted until December, so about a month and a half. The 14th of December, a Thursday, I complained about how lonely I was going to be that evening, because my dad was abroad for work. My brother was always at his friend's house, and my little sister was on a school trip, and my mom had to work late that night. It was very reckless of me, but after weeks, I thought I could trust him. That evening, he walked me to the bus stop. We both waited. I got on the bus, waved at him, and put on my earphones. I had 2 stops before my house. It was about 17:45 in December, so it was already really dark outside, and I got out of the bus. And as I got off the bus, I had a really bad feeling. There was a very uncomfortable sensation in my stomach, and I felt like I was being watched. I pressed pause on my music, but kept on my earphones, so that people thought I couldn't hear anything, and that's probably what saved my life. I lived in a suburban neighborhood, very silent, especially at night, with no visibility on the big road the bus passed in. When I heard footsteps behind me, I understood I was right. There was someone following me, and he was not well-intentioned. At least I could hear that he wasn't accelerating. As quietly as possible, I tried to reach for my keys in my pocket, and when I finally pulled them out, I ran, as fast as I could. The best sprint of my life. I don't know how it worked, but I managed to open and to close the door before he could reach me. I then deactivated my alarm, which, by the way, confirmed that I was home alone, and took a look through the glass panel on the door. It's not a peephole, it's a whole window, so if someone wanted to see what was happening inside, they could. It was Rob, a few meters away, looking at me with a really creepy face. He followed me to my home, probably with a car, and was clearly not here for chit-chat. I still don't know why I didn't call the police. I was paralyzed. We both stared at each other for a minute, and when I took back control over my body, I ran to the kitchen to get a knife. When I got back to the door, he was there too, banging against the door. I was pushing against the door, praying for it to not break, while he was kicking harder and harder. After maybe 5 minutes, he stopped and got around the house, knocking against every shutter, and then went back to the door. He looked very angry, but then, my neighbor's car parked by my house, and Rob ran away, probably thinking it was my mom coming home. On Twitter, Rob sent me 1,000 messages before I could block him. He then deleted his account, and I thought that was it. But quickly after, there were a lot of new accounts that had been created and followed me. Their ads were all a series of numbers and the first letter of his name, and as soon as I blocked one, another one followed me. I chose to delete my account because I couldn't make it stop, and it was too hard to endure, because they were sending me dozens of insulting DMs. Later, I talked to the people who were supposed to be Rob's classmates, because I haven't seen him in days. But not a single one ever heard about Rob. This guy was never a student in my high school. That's why I never saw him apart from our daily meetings, and that's probably why he seemed old. Never heard of him again after this, and I'm still asking myself what he wanted, and also what could have happened that night. This particular event happened almost a year ago, sometime in mid-October. A couple friends and I drove out to visit an old friend of ours from high school, George, who now lived about an hour out of the city. We spent the whole day with him, and it was really late when we finally decided to drive back home. My friend Lisa was passed out in the passenger seat. She had a few drinks and decided to spend the ride home asleep. My other friend Sam was sitting in the back seat behind Lisa and was playing a game on her smartphone. I, of course, was driving. I was following the GPS instructions back to the freeway. At that moment, we were driving down a dark street with thick trees bordering both sides. Everything was pretty peaceful, with the only sounds I could hear being that of the car moving along the road and the radio on low volume. Suddenly, my car let out a loud jolt and felt as if I had hit something. Sam let out a shocked scream while Lisa remained dead asleep. I slammed on the brakes and the car came to a halt. I was breathing heavily when I asked what the hell had just happened. Sam peered through the back window and gasped. She turned to me with an angry look on her face and shouted that I had just hit a dog. I looked through the back window, and sure enough, a dog was lying in the road a few yards behind the car. Sam is a huge animal lover, so I wasn't surprised to see her get pissed at me. She was about to open her door and rush to the animal's aid when I stopped her. Once I had gotten over the shock of running over a dog, I got a feeling in my gut that told me something was off. I'm no braggart, but I consider myself to be a very attentive and safe driver. My eyes were on the road at all times, and I distinctly remember not seeing any dog in the road prior to the car jolting. Yes, it was dark, but I was sure I would have at least seen the dog in the headlights before hitting it. I looked through the back window and took a closer look at the dog, or at least as much as I could make out in the reddish light coming from my taillights. It was a fairly big dog, at least a golden retriever or something like that. One particular detail caught my attention. I could see the dog's tail wagging. Now, I'm no expert on the mannerisms of animals, but I was sure the last thing a dog would do after being hit would be to wag its tail. After a moment of thought, I pressed my foot down on the accelerator and sped off. Sam snapped at me and ordered me to go back, but I told her that something was wrong with the whole situation. She continued to argue, but she fell silent as she turned back towards the back window. She asked, "What the heck?" with a shaken voice. I looked in the rear view mirror. Though it was dark, I was able to make out the silhouettes of 3 large figures emerging from the trees on the side of the road. The dog was now up on its feet and jumping around joyfully. The 3 figures looked in our direction as I pressed my foot down on the gas harder and sped off. Sam and I remained silent for the rest of the ride home. It wasn't until a few days later that we told Lisa about it. We've been back to visit George a few times since then, but we always make sure to leave before sunset. Still, I dread to think about what would have happened if we had gotten out of the car. "3:30 a.m., some random Tuesday in October. Sleeping soundly on my couch, I am awakened by a loud banging and screaming. Not just drunk people at 3:30 a.m. That horrified, panic-filled, someone is fucking dying screaming. You know it if you've ever heard it. My eyes pop open and I immediately see a half-naked woman covered in blood banging on my door. Ripped button-down shirt, barely holding on, boobs flapping everywhere in panties. That's it. It's freaking October in New England. It's cold as shit here. Anyway, she's banging on my door with both fists screaming, "Help me, help me. They're chasing me and they're going to get me. They're going to kill me. Help me." For the most part, I'm dumb, but not completely. I'm not going to just open my door to some screaming, bloodied up psycho. I hit my alarm and let it go off a bit, perhaps to scare off whoever is chasing her. Then I do the only humane thing I can do in this situation. I let her in. I pull her into my home and close the door really quickly. Answer the call from the alarm company. "Yes, send police, send an ambulance. Thank you for being real. I've never used an alarm before, so it was nice to know they actually worked." Now I have this lady bleeding all over my living room and crying hysterically, repeating over and over, "They were animals. They were chasing me like animals." I can clearly hear she has an accent. I'm figuring Russian or Romanian. She is speaking broken English and is scared as hell. I take her into the kitchen and enter CSI mode. I'm thinking, yeah, I got this. I'm gonna not contaminate evidence and make sure I keep all the bloodied rags I used to clean her for the cops. All the while she is still saying she was being chased by animals and all that. She's fucked up. The side of her face is scratched up and her arms are scraped. Her legs are all bloody with scrapes like she took a good fall. Just messed up and bloody everywhere. So scene setter. 3:30 a.m. Kitchen, bloody half-naked, non-good English-speaking, hysterical, fucked up bloody woman. Me collecting evidence. Me. It's okay. Calm down, the police are on their way with an ambulance. They were chasing me like animals. You are safe now, let's get you cleaned up. They were chasing me and I saw them turn into werewolves. Me. Now I'm scared. Calm down, you are safe here, I said. I bring her back into the living room and I'm scared. Many thoughts are running through my head now. Am I going to die tonight? Is she going to attack me? Why aren't the police here yet? I need a weapon in fast. She is bandaged but still rambling on and on about animals that were chasing her. I decide it's probably a good idea to give 911 another call, just to be sure they know my address. It also allows me to get my couch in between me and her, affording me a little bit of safety. Not much, but I was confident in my run around the couch she'll never catch my skills. She's pacing my living room rambling when she goes over to the window and starts staring. A good 10-second stare with a creepy silence attached to it. Then, babies. There are babies in the road. Oh my god, look at all the babies in the road. Screaming at the top of her lungs. I'm not coming out from behind the couch. This goes on for a good 30 seconds. Not an imaginary 30 seconds, where you think it's been like 5. And it's really only been like 10 seconds. This was a full-on 30 seconds of screaming, and me standing behind my couch thinking, fuck you, I'm not falling for that trick. Finally, the police come. The officer knocks on my door. I now have to leave the safety of the backside of my couch to unlock the door. I dashed my ass to that door and ran out and told the cop she's fucking nuts and to be careful. They take her to the ambulance, and they do whatever they need to do to her. I'm chilling on my couch, shell-shocked. I mean, what the fuck? The cop comes back and asks me if I know her. She looks familiar, but I don't know her. Then he asks me if I was babysitting for her. I'm like, huh? No, I'm not babysitting for her. The cop proceeds to say, oh, because she said you were babysitting her kids, and when she showed up to collect them, you wouldn't give them back. At this point, I'm exhausted and frog-eyed, and I throw my rights out the window and tell the cop to search my house, that there are no kids here. The cop knows it's a bullshit story she gave me, but he had to ask anyhow, and I understand that. He doesn't even search my house. Ambulance takes her away, cops leave, and it's now 4 a.m., and I'm sitting on my couch knowing I'm never going to get back to sleep, and the workday is going to suck. The best part of this story is what the police blotter said in the next day's paper. Resident lets woman claiming to be chased by werewolves into her home. Awesome. Just awesome. Turns out I did know her. She was my neighbor. I arrive home from my suck-ass day to find DCF, Department of Children and Families, waiting outside my door. I now have to let her into my home because I, being the nosy fuck that I am, want to know what the deal is with that psycho woman. Contrary to what the police blotter said, I usually don't let people claiming to be werewolves into my home. I was willing to make the exception for the police the prior night because I was scared as hell and shit. Fear can quickly remove quite a few boundaries. Anyhow, DCF woman informs me that the psycho woman was my neighbor. I knew she looked familiar, but I just couldn't place her face. Perhaps the blood and scrapes and psychotic behavior threw me off. There seems to be a missing child, or so the psycho woman told him at the hospital. I'm starting to get a little freaked out, as the psycho woman already accused me of not giving back her what we thought imaginary kids. The story I got from DCF was limited. She wouldn't divulge much information, but in a nutshell, what I did manage to get is this. The psycho woman lives next door to me. The house to my right. We share a fucking driveway. The house is a duplex, so people are always coming and going. I never paid much attention to anyone living there. The woman claims she has a child, a little girl, age unknown. She said a child is missing. And the woman was under the influence of mind-altering drugs. And she was Romanian. That's it. The messed up thing is that I do remember seeing a child over there, a little girl probably about 4. I've only ever seen her one time, maybe twice in the 3+ years the woman has lived there. I'm not especially paranoid, but I can recognize the potential for a situation to turn ugly very quick. I tell DCF lady that I have no clue who the fuck this woman is, why she would choose to bang on my door, or where this psycho woman's alleged kid is. Pretty much exactly like that, probably with less F-bombs. DCF ensures me that they don't think I'm involved, and that it's routine for them to follow up with me. And the lady leaves. I'm pretending like I don't want anything to do with the situation, but honestly, my life is boring. This is the most excitement I've had in months. Next day, 4 police cars, a canine squad, 5 to 6 uniformed cops, 2 plainclothes show up at my neighbor's house. My nosy ass goes outside. My neighbor's door is open, and all the police are walking in. The cops tell me the following story. I swear on all that is sacred, I'm not making this shit up. It seems upon entering the house, they found a mess. Just dirty, dingy, and all-around health hazard. The basement was wall-to-wall mattresses. The bathroom attached to the basement room was rank. Cops' exact words. It was a 2-bedroom condo with a non-master bedroom wall-to-wall mattress. However, the master bedroom looked like a king's room. Again, words used by the cop. That's pretty much all I got out of the cops. I hung around and watched them drag all the mattresses out. It was pretty gross. Dirty piss stains and whatever else nastiness all over them. They took out about 3 dressers, cheap Walmart types. Miscellaneous other crap, like a table and chairs, couch, etc. It turns out, this house is a Romanian immigrant sex trafficking operation. The owner of the house is bringing these Romanian girls over, providing housing, if you can call that housing, and selling them out for sex. The woman did have a kid, but it was taken away by DCF about 6 months prior. The psycho woman herself was, as far as they could tell, on a job, using what they think was crack or meth. She freaked out, and was running home when she must have fell several times and got all fucked up. She again, what they think, hit the height of her paranoia upon reaching my door, and then, well, the rest is history. Moral of the story, if you don't let crazy bloody half-naked women into your home at 3:30 a.m., you'll never find out that your neighbors are running a Romanian immigrant sex trafficking operation.